Yeah, let's just clarify that point, because it sounds important. All your rights have been turned into privileges. What does that mean exactly?
So you're born with rights, okay? Everyone is born with every single right they could possibly imagine. All right, rights come from God. They come from the universe. They come from inheriting what is natural. They don't come from a constitution. They don't come from a government policy. So the minute you're born, your parents take you and they register you, right? And they take that name and they register that name. From that point forward, you've given up all your rights for privileges. So from the minute you're born, your rights are given away for privileges. Now, because you've joined a society under a constitution that dictates to you what rights that society is going to recognize. Well, that's essentially a privilege that those rights are being recognized, right? But that's it. That's the only rights that are recognized or upheld. What about all the other rights that I have, right? They don't stop at the first 10 amendments. I mean, I've got tons of rights. So from that point forward, you're only afforded that which the system will recognize and allow you to have underneath that name, address, birth date, all the identifying information that that organization has about you. So again, it becomes more of a privilege than a right. Now people say, we have civil rights. Well, civil rights were never meant for me and you. They were meant for federal citizens only. And when you do the research and you go, well, what's a federal citizen? Well, it's not a state citizen, not in the United States of America. There are two citizenships here. And just read the 14th Amendment. It tells you that. It says you can be a federal citizen and a citizen of the state wherein you reside. So you could be a United States citizen and a citizen of the state wherein you reside. Now, if you look at the Government Printing Office Style Manual, okay, for those of you watching, GPO Style Manual, Section 5.23. Okay, Government Printing Office Style Manual, when you scroll down to Section 5.23, Chapter 5, it will say nationalities. Okay, nationalities. What does that mean? That means there's a nation here, nationality. You're from a nation. And under that heading, it says Alabaman, Alaskan, Arizonan, Californian, Texan. So if these are nationalities, why am I not saying I'm a New Jerseyan because I was born in New Jersey? Why am I saying I'm a US citizen? Because US citizen only belongs in the 10-mile square, the federal enclaves and things like that, the territories. And that's easy to read right in the Constitutional Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17. Okay, that's the territorial legislative district. So
let me, can I jump in here really quick? Because one aim I have for this conversation is, because we're already talking about different codes and places where people can go and look up. When I started doing the research for this interview, it's a lot to remember and a lot that you probably have to encounter several times. So I'd like to
absolutely,
as much as we can, have a like a simple framework and sort of understand the basics. And one of the basics that you mentioned was when we are born, your parents register you, and that's when things change. So could you talk about, because ultimately my objective for this conversation is for people that want to be free. Let's give them some information and practical things they can do. So what's awesome. Happening here? What are we stuck in that we don't even know about?
Well, first off, I want to thank you for keeping this framework, because it's so second nature to me that yes, I will go on and on and on. So don't hesitate to cut me off and say, all right, let's bring it back in, because I will go on these topics. So thank you. So yes, what happens at birth? We have to consent to be in a society. You have to, especially here, right? You have to consent. You don't even have that option. When you're born, all of a sudden you're registering your name, your address, your mother's address, the time of birth, the date of birth, this identifying information. Once they do that, you're now a quote unquote state citizen. Your birth certificate doesn't say United States on it. It says state of, right? Once they do that, that name, your name, it is held by them. That's a trust relationship. If I'm giving my property, my name is property, okay, which it is. Just about everything is property, whether it's tangible or intangible, real or incorporeal. So we give that property over. The state says, okay, we're going to take this name, we're going to hold it in trust, and we're going to create another organization over here. The United States now, the federal government's going to create another organization, a trust, another trust, and they're going to put your name as the name of the trust. That's called Social Security, right? If you look on your Social Security card, whose name is it? Well, you say, it's my name. It's not your name. It's the name of a trust. Okay. That trust is a Social Security trust that is, just read the Social Security Act. It's clear. There's trustees. It's a trust. You know, you receive benefits. Anytime you're receiving a benefit, that is a trust relationship for the most part. Okay. So it's really important that we have to understand when government does something to us, that they send us a letter, or they do this, or they do that, or they drag us into a courtroom, it's not us that they're dragging into the courtroom. It's our organization that was created. It's the trust with that name. And the way they identify the trust is all the information that your parents gave them at birth is how the trust is identified. So in other words, what do they always ask for? Name, birth date, address, right? These are very significant points of information, not because it identifies you. I tell people, think about it this way. Who gave the government the information to identify you? You did. Okay. So if I show up somewhere and they go, identify yourself, and I go, well, my name's Robert Michael, I got hazel eyes, 6 foot, brown hair. That's my ID. What do I need an ID for? Wait a minute. So you mean to tell me you need to take that same information that I gave to the government, and then they gave it back to me, and now you want me to give it to you, and that's legal. But for me to just tell you it's not legal. How does that work? Right? Because of the contractual relationship and who they want you to be, so that they have jurisdiction over everything you do, because it's not you that they have the jurisdiction over, it is the organization. As a man or a woman, you could stand up and say, you don't have jurisdiction over me. I'm a man or a woman, and all your statutes and codes are specific to what they attach to, or statutes and codes are spelled out specifically what they mean. Well, you use the word person. Let's get our law dictionary out, look up person, right? Person is a corporation, an LLC, a trust, a natural person, but it's never a man or a woman, ever. It's a persona and a personam that you wear, right? That's why you can show up in court in personam, which is in personam is Latin for in person. You're wearing a mask. You're playing a play. You're in an act in Shakespeare. That's exactly what's going on. So it's really important that we understand at birth that we've given everything over to the state, and the state is now holding it in a fiduciary responsibility. Okay, meaning that their trustees, they're not supposed to be benefiting from our estate, our property that we gave them. But when they rearrange everything and we don't understand the arrangement, we think that we have to follow everything they say and do with these quote unquote laws, which are codes and statutes. But in actuality, those codes and statutes only apply to a person. Well, a trust is a person. So if they create a person with your identity, that person is under those laws and codes and statutes. The difference is when you step up and they say, John Henry Doe, yeah, that's me. They go, oh, we got the trust here. We've got somebody that's saying that they have a right to operate this federal trust. We're even this state trust, but they don't have a right to do that. We don't know who they are. What's your identification? Where's your ID? Oh, it's right here. So you give them the ID of the trust, but you don't have a right to administrate that. So you're breaking the law every time you use your name.